So it's good that they're working to deepening ties with Nigeria and looking forward to gaining from this collaboration.
Definitely. Coming up on TVC Breakfast, Minister of Health and Social Welfare Ali Pate becomes a center of attention over an alleged $300 million misappropriation of malaria fund. Join us after the break for this conversation. All right, thank you for joining us. The House of Representatives Committee on Anti-Malaria, HIV/AIDS and Tuberculosis has summoned the Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Mohammed Ali Pate, and the Permanent Secretary, Daju Kachollom, to appear before the House over allegations of misappropriation of $300 million meant to tackle malaria since 2021. This was revealed by the chairman of the committee, Amobi Ogah, at the National Assembly. The committee has also threatened to arrest the permanent secretary if she fails to honor the summon, having failed to appear before the committee after 3 invitations. The duo are expected to answer questions on allegations of denying indigenous manufacturers of insecticidal nets from participating in the contract for the procurement of the items and other related products. Well, joining us in the studio to have this conversation is public health expert, publisher, Health Nika Tui Mebawandu. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Always a pleasure. Good morning.
Now, the essence of this fund, as you know, I was trying to look at why we got this fund in the first place, was to accelerate Nigeria's progress towards reducing the malaria burden. Although at the time it was said that we did not have as much burden in reports that I saw at the time. That's talking about 2021. But the essence of getting the fund was actually to reduce that burden, to get to the zero level as it is. But then perhaps the minister, in their wisdom at the time, decided, we do not need as much this monies now. Let's hold back till when perhaps we have the huge burden to address the malaria. But I'm just wondering what you think came to play in that period, why that fund was not appropriated or judiciously used for this matter.
Well, I think the minister, needs to actually, and the Ministry of Health needs to come out clean on how this money is used. We have burden of malaria. Nigeria is actually #1 country in malaria deaths. We have 27% of the whole malaria cases in the world, and we have 32% of all deaths from malaria in the whole world. And if you put Nigeria, DR Congo, Tanzania, and Niger, you have more than 50% of the whole malaria cases all over the world. And of course, we're spending a lot of money, as much as, even in 2022, as much as 1.2 trillion naira trying to battle malaria. And where are these funds coming from? The budgeting is little. Yeah. We have to rely on donors. In fact, this money was borrowed from World Bank, African Development Bank, and Islamic Bank. Those are the 3 banks that said, okay, listen, Nigeria needs to address the deaths due to malaria and the economic loss due to malaria by that $340-something million that was budgeted. And of course, the thinking was to actually call 13 states, okay, which are actually the signal of the bad malaria cases in Nigeria, and then use it to fight malaria at those levels. Of course, we know the pillars of those fighting malaria. First, you have to actually deploy long-lasting insecticide-treated nets, okay, especially to the children and pregnant women. Those are the groups that are actually very vulnerable. You need to do that amongst other things. Okay. Now, in doing that, it means that you have to set up a procurement system. You have to look for how to get those nets and pre-qualification mechanisms. But unfortunately, this thing came to the fore now because a local company wrote a petition to the House saying that we were excluded In fact, the contract was given essentially for the UN Supply Office to bring those things. Whether it was given, whether it was not given, we don't know. So, but now these things came up, and the petition came, and House now wants to know, what did you do exactly? I don't know why it has to happen that 1, 2, 3 times you are summoned. And that come and explain what you do. Then I don't know why it should be such that before now, the committee is there superintending and doing oversight function on that aspect of health. What have they been doing? So again, a simple story like this will raise a lot of questions on the quality of our honesty in terms of applying loans and funds, okay? And you remember at a point in time, even the immunization people, the Gavi people had to actually, step back from Nigeria because of this kind of issues that we give you money, you are not applying the money the way you should apply it. So I don't know why yes, we agree that Pate was not the minister when this happened. Yeah. But, government is a continuum, and there's a permanent secretary who should be able to be the accounting officer of his or her ministry, and should understand the importance of getting to, explain the application of those funds, because I don't think it's a grant, it's a loan, it was a loan, and you have to pay this loan back.
So I love the fact that you also touched on the National Assembly, that of course they've got oversight functions to do in the implementation of these loans towards the eradication of malaria or fighting malaria within our country. So is that to say that apart from the fact that the minister is being invited with under 72 hours, as well as the permanent secretaries and others, the House, especially the committees, the committee members that perform the oversight function over the implementation of this loan are supposed to first and foremost come to equity with clean hands by giving quality explanation towards how they provided the oversight function during this period?
There must be, before now, there must have been committees. Of course, there is a committee that's supposed to superintend over this oversight function. Now, if without visiting you, I can invite you to come and explain. Bring your documents. Why should that be difficult? Okay? I'm not saying the request of the House abnormal. But the question is that why should it now be that the petition must come from a textile manufacturing company before you act? So these things are just quite... But I think that whatever the insinuation, whatever the perception, the ministry needs to say that, listen, we got this money. This is what we got. This is how the money has been disbursed. This is utilization. This is the effect of the money we spend. We'll be able to reduce malaria burden from this. Because we were not number one before. It was DR Congo. But now we've jumped to number one. 32% of all deaths from malaria. Okay? So, and then we're losing trillions of dollars, billions of dollars from malaria. I think it's something we should be able to discuss. And because now, if you cannot apply money appropriately, it's going to seriously affect donor,
confidence.
Yes, in you. Because right now, we're talking about vaccines for malaria. Because, now we have the insecticide net, the chemoprophylaxis. Yeah. We have the malaria vaccines. We have residual spraying, that we have to spray the environment and, control the vectors. Those are the 4 pillars we have to control malaria. And each of these pillars requires money. Okay? Now, we're still fighting on the aspect of who supplies the net, how the net was supplied, and that the fact that indigenous company was denied production of those nets. But how many areas, even in terms of molecules, drugs that we use for malaria, how many support have we given to even those who are manufacturing those drugs?
Local manufacturers.
Apart from that, in that value chain, how many of our people are we empowering to make that happen? Because at the end of the day, if the money comes, and then one of the tricky things about this donor money, there are conditions. There are conditions. The bank, those people giving you the money will say, these are the conditions. These are the people that can, bid. These are the quality of the net we want. Okay? I'm sure the ministry should be able to come and tell us exactly why those local people were not given, how the money has been applied, the effect.
If the ministry was able to do that, they would not be boycotting the National Assembly otherwise.
Arrogance everywhere. Because some people just feel that how can You know, what is his business? What does he know? You know, we tend to toy with serious national issues. You know, it may not be that, let me tell you, it may not even be that the money has been misapplied. Trust. Until you start going to the details of works at the level of ministry, you know some of this and how difficult it could be for you to access fund. Except somebody want to actually ride roughshod on the process and the flow of how that money should be. It could be quite challenging. There are conditions, incident. Let me tell you, for instance, I was privy to some of the works of NAFDAC, you know, just yesterday, and I saw the details work they were doing on an aspect of a product. Details work. If you don't get close to them, you will not know the essence of what they do. Of course, in this ministry, some of those things are personal. They could be compromised. It has to be compromised for you to escape those things. It may not be that they have stolen the money in reality, but why are they not coming to explain?
That's the question.
And they should honestly tell Nigerians, because it's in the public space now. All of us are watching, and we want to know exactly what has happened to that $340-something million sourced from 3 banks to applied in 13 states to fight malaria burden. And don't forget, we're number 1 in deaths and cases of malaria.
And you know, talking about insecticidal nets, you know, some of these things are actually meant to be given for free. I don't know whether it's meant to be sold now, because I've seen some insecticidal nets being sold by people, and it is boldly written, not for sale. And some of them are also donations from the WHO, you know, et cetera, et cetera. So is this not part of the things that we're talking about? Because by the time they give us some of these things, and you know, we're asked to distribute this thing onwardly to people that need them in different households, and then we get to see it, you know, being displayed on. It's
quite worrisome. You're right, because on the streets of Lagos, in the traffic, I saw people hawking insecticide-treated nets. These are supposed to actually be given out, especially to the pregnant women and children in rural area, free of charge, to use to fight the scourge of malaria. But how do we explain it? You know, the logistic of taking this thing and getting to the last user, we have to actually tidy that aspect. If you are the inventory holder, you are the one in charge of the inventory, we must be able to know the flow of that thing until it gets to the last person. And in reality, quite a lot of people, there are a lot of reticence in terms of saying, okay, I want to use the ITN, the long-lasting treated nets. Because people feel that, you know, I feel hot when I'm under it, you know. There must be that kind of communication. And I keep repeating it over and over. We don't have money to run health. But we have money to, we don't even need money to talk and educate our people. That is the lowest hanging fruit as far as I'm concerned. Move at the level of local, move to the local community, move to the people, move to the influencer at the local community, and tell them why the nets are important, why it has to be used, and actually follow up. Even I can tell you, even in the so-called, you know, center of excellence, Lagos, by the time you move away from the main city, the story may not be too different from what's happening in Bayelsa. Not be too different. So now we need that thing to be able to get something right. We cannot be number 1 in every bad thing. That's just case of malaria, HIV number 2, corruption number 1. That shouldn't be our narration. Okay? If you source money, apply the money so that you can get more money. If you are faithful with little, more will come. That is the issue. And why I trust Professor Pate will go and discuss this. From now on, I'm sure the minister will put all this together and say, listen, this is how the money was applied. Perhaps they are trying to get the data. Perhaps they are trying to pick this person.
But that should have been communicated.
Yeah, honestly, they should have come. You cannot just neglect people who has the authority to oversight over your ministry. You can't neglect them for whatever reason. Even if there is the smallest child, even if there is most uneducated person, I'm not saying they are, but even at that, you have the mandate to tell people, this is the money, because Nigerians are going to pay the money back.
But going by what the representative said, they said that they've been running away and calling all manner of people to talk to them. So it means that, you know, probably way of lobbying and saying you just have to, you know, let this case die. And if you look at, I want to bring an instance where we have a colleague of ours who is now in government, I mean a journalist who is now in government, spokesperson for the government, said that when he got into his office, he realized that he needed, TV and some other paraphernalia in order to function in that office, because the person who left the office took all of those things when he was removed. And then the budget was just 2 million naira, and he waited for like 2-3 weeks and he didn't see that. He went to the permanent secretary and they said that what is in the budget is 6 million naira. So apparently, through the chain, the bureaucracy, they've added, monies and monies and monies. What does this say about the civil service and the kind of corruption that is entrenched in the service? And how do we wield it out?
Interestingly, I was part of civil service at least for up to 2 decades before, I voluntarily left. The quality of governance you are going to get would depend on the quality of your civil service. There's this kind of, with due respect, there's this kind of collaboration with corrupt political elements. I'm not saying all politicians are corrupt, but corrupt political elements who now actually overact and overreach the ministries, and because they have the power to fire and hire. If you don't do what I want, you can be fired and replaced. The question is that, what law actually protects civil servants at that level who says that I am not going to play ball with you? Tell me the law that protects them. They will be fired and redeployed elsewhere. Okay? And then, if we don't have that kind of law, a kind of independence that can look at their frustration at those levels, okay? I won't say it's for you that took me out. If you cannot look at those laws, then in reality, you will see a compromised civil service, because which will be a reflection of our political order. So, if you want to sanitize civil service, you don't just point hand. We have to actually look back into our society, especially the political leadership, okay, and then be able to craft a law that will protect civil and organize civil service who does not want to be part of that kind of thing. Usually, what they do is that if you don't want to be part of it,
they frustrate.
You move JJ to one corner, or you said, "I'm leaving. I've had enough. My conscience cannot take this." And there's 1,001 people who are ready to step in. And let's not forget, when we saw what happened during Muritala to the civil service, why are you surprised that we're having this kind of civil service? Okay? You woke up one day and retired a lot of people. Some people were thrown out of their houses. The case of Sam Manua was very instructive. He had acted as the governor of this country when the colonial people were on holiday. He was thrown out of his house in Ikoyi. He actually ended up somewhere in Surulere or so. And nothing, the frustration actually led to his death.
So what now happened between then and now?
All the reform is that if you want to protect it's leadership. Because at the end of the day, everybody looks up north. What I mean up north is at the head. Yeah. Okay? Yeah. So in reality, what you're saying is a country where anybody can wake up who is not having a dime and then become very rich suddenly. Okay, and all we know is that all he has been is the civil service. We don't know any other thing he's doing. We raise more, and then when those ones are glorified, until we tame our greed, don't let us until we tame our greed and can be able to see where our spirituality or churchianity or religiosity connects to our behavior really. That is when we know. Until we start looking at those values, okay? Until we start creating that value-driven society, in everything we do, we're not going to get anywhere. But at the end of the day, there must be something to protect those civil servants. If there's nothing to protect them, what do you want them to do?
They will protect themselves?
They'll protect themselves. I said, listen, no, I don't know. I'm not the one who's going to die for Nigeria.
Right. But let's...
And then the role of the civil society also is very key. To highlight, I know quite a number of them that are actually trying to do whatever to do. The freedom of information thing, a lot of instruments we have, we must be ready to use them. We have quite a lot of things. The freedom of information is one. You can demand and say that this is one. But interestingly, quite a lot of those things I know, quite a number of states refuse to domesticate FOI.
Yeah. So what do you think will happen now? 72 hours have been given. If, you say you believe the minister will want to step in to speak with regards to this. If
the minister
does not
come, right. I know that the begging has increased somewhere.
From where?
Yeah, from somewhere.
From where? Because I am confused. I don't know.
What I'm saying is that
right.
the House Committee is saying that the ministers and the permanent secretary are sending all sorts of people to plead, to beg. Maybe, and that's another thing. Can we get to a point where I'll be allowed to do what I determine is my duty and right? Somebody will influence will come. Your traditional ruler will come. Your spiritual leader will come. If you are not careful, if you have girlfriend, your girlfriend will come. And then you are confused. Saying, are you alone? Do you want to kill yourself?
You can keep your standards and insist.
I love the way the narration is going.
Right.
All eyes are on the minister and the House Committee. Yeah. We will try, and I will actually implore the fourth estate of the realm to follow up. Let us see how this thing finally ends. Are they going to come? Are they going to give this explanation?
And if they don't come?
And if they don't come,
what should happen?
They know. The law must have stated clearly what should happen next. If you are coming, if you don't come, we have the power to do this. If they don't do that, well, I know that somehow, haven't taken it this far, I know that somehow the begging has succeeded.
I hope the House will not, pander to whatever begging that they are getting, and not probably us seeing the off the mic of a thing of people fainting, behind the and all of that. Because what role? Now you mentioned the role of the media, the fourth estate of the realm. What about the people themselves? Do you not feel that they need to continue to monitor the trends? And
how do people monitor the trend without you? Tell me. How do we monitor
the social media?
Well, that's why we're having this conversation now.
It's still media. Whether social or mainstream, it's still media.
That's why we're having this conversation.
Yes, nice, we're having it. We should be able to, those little things. Okay, today, for instance, the news said that, we'll be able to pay the backlog of some of those forex. Yeah. It inspires confidence. Some of us feel happy that is happening. Why? Because we had consistently pointed out that the direction the government is going, we're not happy with it. And the government responded. And we've seen many responses in that regard. So if people will talk, but it has to be highlighted. But we also know that the war now, if I had knew, I probably have been a media person and not a doctor. Because the influence of media is so pervasive, okay? It's so pervading. Every part of your living.
Right.
So the war now, in reality, is shifting not just to media. Okay. War is more of media now. So don't drop
the ball.
Drop the ball. Let's keep insisting and asking questions.
Okay, we'll have to leave the conversation here now. Public health expert, publisher, health nika, Tuyime Bawadu. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Right, you're watching TVC Breakfast, still ahead on the show. Reactions are trailing Nnamdi Kanu's statement. We'll bring you details of that conversation. Stay with us.